high-level government officials in the military, and then it's going to be the general public. And
that rank is going to come in handy, homie.
No, it's not.
They should just told Sam it was made by Audi. He'd run up first, get it first.
No, I meant that rank is going to come in handy for the rest of us, not for you, homie.
Okay. So let me ask you guys this then. I've just been looking. Well, so it's a combination of messages from my family, watching different things online on TV and everything. This notion of the government versus black people, and a lot of black people feeling that why should we take a vaccine when we know what the government could do to us? Theories of depopulation, theories of they're going to try and use this vaccine to try to harm the black community specifically. So you would be stupid as a black man trying to take something fully administered by the government.
Meh.
So no, I'll let you guys. So because again, like I just want you from that point of view, where do you stand on that with the facts of specifically of black people as a whole, in relation to a vaccine made by the government? Do you buy into those? They want them conspiracy theories, or do you think that's just bogus stuff? Hitman.
I'm not buying into conspiracy theories on this one because this is public health. I mean, this is affecting everybody. The only reason it's affecting us more than because, as we know, because you remember I posted the whole thing that it's affected more black people in the U.S. and more black people in the U.K. And the common denominator there is economics. I mean, poverty which poverty preconditions you for pre-existing conditions. As far as taking it, I mean, this is going to be, we're getting the same vaccine everybody else is getting, and they're not forcing it, and no government is forcing anybody to take it at this moment. It's just a matter of right now peer pressure. Like, are you going to take it or not? Are you going to take it or are you not going to take it? That's really what it comes down to. And a lot of people have distrust because, I mean, a lot of people in a lot of black communities don't trust it because of a lot of historical pretext. I mean, you probably read the stuff about the Tuskegee experiments, which they tested syphilis on black people, and then and even other stuff which wasn't exactly particularly on black people, MK Ultra, where they tested drugs in the military, stuff like that. I mean, that gets into more conspiracy theory stuff. I don't really want to go down that route, but pretty much, I mean, there's people who have distrust. I mean, it's the government. I mean, government offering help, I mean, usually makes people turn away.
You're on mute, my man.
Tony?
So, as for me, I think that in general, it's fair that Black people are apprehensive due to history. I don't even think that we have to look as far back as the Tuskegee experiments. I mean, I think it was as of recent, like even in not detention centers, but what do you call it? The centers where they were picking up immigrants and things of that nature.
You're talking about the ICE facilities, the cages.
Yes, and in those centers, there were cases of sterilizing the women. So women were leaving, seeking whatever health, situations or checkups, and then realizing once they've left that they can no longer have children and things of that nature. So things like this do happen. I do think that in terms of everyone receiving the same vaccination, that's all fine and dandy. But I would be apprehensive in general to be one of the first to come up and do it. And I don't even think that it's just Black people who are somewhat hesitant to actually, take it upon themselves to be one of the first people to come up and do this. I do think that there are just as equally apprehensive people who are of different races as well. I think that there's a lot of focus on Black people because I think that there weren't that many that actually tested when they were going through some of these phases, before they actually announced that they were actually going to have the vaccination. And I think that's where a lot of the conversation is.
HH, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm not me. So Corey.
Hey, yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm like everybody else. I would definitely be apprehensive about it. But Tony made a good point. Like, I think that I would like to see the data explained to people who maybe don't understand it before they get the shot, and in a way that they can understand. You know, the fact that there weren't that many Black people tested, and the Black people who were tested, these were their specific symptoms, and this is how many of them got that symptom. I would like to see the data maybe explain more to people before they get the shot, and not just. I mean, I understand we're trying to rush the needle in the arms and everything like that, but people are obviously they don't know what to expect. They're kind of scared, right? You know, I think the Tuskegee experiments are nothing like this. Very different, completely different kind of setup. I can understand the logic behind the fear and distrust and all that. But I mean, what other choice do you have at this point? I mean, like I said before, people are going to have to take it. So, what makes me kind of angry, to be honest, and this might be a little bit different, but countries in Africa have been dealing with diseases for they've been waiting for vaccines for decades. This COVID virus is affecting a lot of white people, I'm going to say, and now all of a sudden they can come up with a vaccine in less than a year. I mean,
it affected more people than it affected the planet, for one, and they had the collective brilliance of virologists across the entire planet working on it. And there was
talking about 6 times.
Yeah, but there was a significant amount of money to be lost globally behind COVID running rampant versus a small village in Africa that won't affect the global economy in the same way.
I mean, I think, for example, malaria affects more than a small village, but I get what you're saying. The impact of COVID-19 was a lot larger, was global and everything, but I can understand how some people might be frustrated and see that, man, they created a vaccine for this shit in less than a year. Why are millions of people still dying in these other countries for stuff that they can also find a vaccine for quicker than they are now?
COVID was EEO compliant. That's basically what it was. COVID was EEO compliant. COVID did not recognize race. It didn't recognize how much money you had, and it really didn't recognize geographic location. So we love bringing up, I don't mean this group here, just in general, we love bringing up malaria. Malaria is geographically specific. You ain't hearing about 20, 30 people in your neighborhood dying from malaria in the United States.
It's the same with Ebola. You don't hear about people dying from Ebola outside of the
Zika. What about Zika? Zika virus is killing people in Florida, or dismembering or harming people in Florida.
How many?
And all over the Caribbean.
How many?
I'd have to look at the numbers, but it was definitely on the news.
It wasn't enough that people care. I mean, we know that because they didn't do nothing.
People had Ebola here and they didn't give a shit.
But let me represent this to us like 100%. Like, I get what you guys are saying. Because this was a global disease, it took the concerted efforts of all these scientists working hard to try and gain a cure for it, as opposed to something that is geographically specific where, okay, look, if it's not affecting me, why am I going to bust my balls to create it? But again, I'm just trying to look at both sides. Don't you still pause for thought that even if you get all the best scientists and so forth, because I spoke to someone who works in a hospital, and he said that he's going to have to take it because he works in a hospital, but he said that if it was done to him, he would have liked this to have gone through a longer process than not. That if he had a choice, he wouldn't take it because he, working in the hospital and working in medicine, he would have liked this to be a much longer process. So does that give you pause for thought, or you still feel that because this was such a global disease, it makes sense that every single scientist and with all the expertise came through?
I would say who it affected mattered a lot more than how many people it affected.
You're absolutely. But here's the thing: you're absolutely right about that. He's absolutely right about that. But the other thing you have to figure as well is that because it affected the top people up in the top, I mean, like the elites as well as the middle class of a lot of these places, businesses and whatnot. When a disease hits your pockets at an extreme level, you're going to make sure that you can get everything back open for business.
Do you guys remember what it took for AIDS to be mentioned on television?
It was almost a
It
decade.
took for gay white people. gay white men to get. I mean, for straight white men.
It took when it jumped into the regular quote. I'm doing air quotes regular blood pool and started killing wealthy to do people.
Famous people too.
Famous people. It started killing fuckers in Hollywood before they acknowledged that it wasn't quote unquote gay AIDS. I mean, gay cancer is what they called it. So
it was called GRID. That's what it originally was called, GRID.
Yeah, and they knew about it for. So here's the thing: people think, oh man, they came out with a vaccine for COVID in a year. No, China's been dealing with this shit on the DL for a bit.
It's because another thing.
But Trump admitted that he had a conversation with Xi about this shit to Woodward. He said that that the president of fucking China told him it was airborne back in January. China had been doing a lot, but they were trying to keep it quiet before it ran amok. But the point about it is China had basically was like, oh hey, we stumbled upon all this research, like months and months and months worth of research that every other scientist on the world piggybacked. They cracked the genome for this thing in 4 months. That's unprecedented. But it wasn't because they had a good starting point. They had a good starting point from all the information from China.
I mean, the whole thing about the genome, though, to actually get into that, when you look at the science on this, they've had all this research for over 20 years, and it's because they've been doing research on other coronaviruses, SARS-CoV-1 or SARS, MERS, which these all have happened between 2000 to now. And so in the East, they've had preparation for this before. And some of these vaccines that they've been giving throughout the world basically been derivatives of vaccines for SARS-CoV-1 as well as other ones.
Wait, actually, real quick. So what's the response that says? It says U.S. governments have made Pfizer and Moderna immune to being sued. Why would they do that? Ray, your response to that?
My guess, I'm not a lawyer. They are pressured to come up with a solution, and they are private firms. So it's like, okay, we're not doing it the way we would want to do it. Because think about it, Pfizer and Moderna, they want to protect their money. They're not looking to go rush something out. They have no vested interest. I mean, it's just them. They can just make it in an unofficial agreement and say, let's take our time, 2-3 years. The people left alive, we then charge the highest price. This is the government saying, hey, we want what you got. Push through. So they're saying, hey, we want some indemnification here because we're not moving at our pace, we're moving at your pace. So I don't see that unreasonable. If I was Pfizer or Moderna, I'd want the same damn thing. Unless we're going to claim that Pfizer and Moderna are also in with the whole Illuminati hoax people, and they're all tied into it too. So, yeah, I think that makes absolute sense.
That's the other thing too. I mean, somebody actually bring up what Captain Levi's page brought at the bottom, like his comment on protection from getting, because that comment is exactly what it is. There could be hundreds of thousands of people that get this vaccine. If only one of them has side effects, that person's going to put litigation through, and that
could potentially stop the flow of a vaccine.
Yeah,
just one group of people.
Yeah, despite the average Facebook scientist hero who hates scientists, but the cat who watched YouTube, so he's smarter than everybody. Despite him claiming that scientists always claim they're 100% correct, that's actually not the case.
Nope.
Even when you're talking about aspirin, they say that aspirin can harm a certain number of people. So with this coming out, yeah, if I was a big ass firm, I'd be looking for some protection too. Now, whether the government gives it to me or not, that's a whole nother story, but I would at least ask.
Well, no, I mean, basically, my thing is that because my undergraduate's bachelor's was in history and philosophy of science and science communication. I think the hallmark of science is to test. Science will never put anything out until it's been rigorously tested. So my mind is, surely they cannot bring out something if they haven't gone through true extensive testing. And which is why I just say to guys, like, it's really at the end of the day about doing your research, and again, it's not just doing research that agrees with what you want to agree with. It's actually doing research looking at both sides,
I don't know, man. I'm pro science, but science makes mistakes all the time. Humans make mistakes all the time. So again, I'm pro science, but I'm not mad at anyone who says I don't blindly do what someone tells me to because they're wearing a white coat. I don't find that offensive at all. But the conspiracy cats, that's a whole nother angle. But science is not it's not perfection. It's not human perfection. So I hesitate when you make the comment that because it's science, we can guarantee they did things the way they.
No, nothing is a guarantee. No, I think it's just like it's respecting the profession to rigorously test a proposition. Because again, like what we will learn in history of philosophy science is that once you make a proposition or something, everyone falsifies. How much can we falsify? And if it goes through all different falsifications, then boom, we can now put this theory as now a fact you can now put forth. So
another. Yeah, go ahead.
No. Okay, go for it.
I was going to say just something real quick too, is because one thing that a lot of is through this whole COVID-19 pandemic in the States, if you pay attention to how it was in the States, Fauci was the go-to guy. Fauci still is kind of the go-to guy when it comes to COVID-19. And he got a lot of respect because but he got a lot of people hating him because he didn't confirm their biases. And a lot of his projections, because what they are, they're projections of what's going to happen. Because his projections weren't met, they would say that he was always wrong. I mean, he's a scientist. I mean, he can't make. It's like forecasting. This is like forecasting the weather. You can't. Yeah, you can make a forecast and try to predict what's going to happen, but that's not exactly what's going to always happen. And all these people talking about this is a ploy or this is a conspiracy theory. There's like a lot of Americans who say this is a conspiracy theory and they're just politicizing it. They politicizing putting on a fucking mask. Excuse my language, but putting on a mask. I mean, we shouldn't be politicizing a lot of this. I get the whole point of like.
No, actually, but quickly on that point, Dan, that's the point everyone go on. Why do you think there is such a split amongst people that there are still a sizable amount of people that don't trust science and don't trust scientists and see science as no,